Welcome, I'm Dr. Saida Desilets, and this is Redefining Femininity, an incredible series that I'm doing with people from all over the world. And today my guest is from Denmark. Welcome, Kirsten. So beautiful.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, you look so gorgeous as always. I want to share a little about Kirsten before we begin. Kirsten Stendevad is the author, I love this, of The Future is Feminine. I think you had something going on trusting that title. And the founder of International Feminine Leadership Academy, which is amazing. Welcome, Kirsten. I'm really excited to hear from you today.
So happy to be here. And you're so right. We need to redefine femininity.
Absolutely. So let's start there. Why don't you share with us, what does femininity actually mean to you personally?
Well, I think femininity is so vast. And I think that the problem starts right there because many people define it so narrowly and say, well, it's about empathy and about, care and so on, but it's so big. And actually for me, it's the whole yin domain. So it's actually all the inner stuff as opposed to the yang domain, which is all the outward going stuff. So it's huge. And for me, it's my essence. It's my nature as a woman. It's both biology, but it's also, it's an essence, it's an energy in me that that is prevalent in me as a woman, and that I really, for me, it's my power.
I love
my
it.
true power.
And I'm curious, Kirsten, was there something that actually happened in your life journey where this understanding of femininity really flourished for you?
Yeah, what happened was that I discovered that I had I had less respect for the feminine than for the masculine. I grew up thinking the masculine was the cool thing to have, to express. That was the outward going energy. That was like, something that could give you status and career and money and success. So I actually grew up, even though I had parents who really, both of them, respect the feminine a lot and display that and are very open about it. I mean, I don't understand how this shortcut could happen, but I think it's cultural. It's growing up in the West and being trained with the fact that if you don't perform, if it doesn't show, if your power doesn't show in the external, there's no power. And I adopted that. And so at a certain point, I discovered that I was working in Danish television, and I was a host, and I had like a good job, on the outside, and it was just like high status and all that. But I noticed that there was a very big difference between how the men were perceived and how the women were perceived, and that the feminine input, input from the women was always a little bit less valued than from the men. And so I really started inquiring, what's going on here? And I asked my experienced colleagues, the people who had been in corporate life for long, I asked them, what's happening here? Why is the female input always, put down, or like, yeah, sure. And then they took the idea of the man. And they said, oh, Kirsten, you haven't understood the rules of the game. You have to play like a man to be successful in corporate life. And then I thought, oh my God, if I'm going to compete in that competition, I'm always going to be number two.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be second best at being a man. Mm-hmm. So this took me on like an exit turn. Like I never ever came back to corporate life again. I thought I better compete with becoming the best version of me. I mean, I don't know if this sounds cliche, but I thought that's a better move rather than trying to become something I'm not. I will always be second best at being a man. So that's where I really discovered that and started questioning my own beliefs about the feminine.
I love that, because I've interviewed a lot of people now, and that particular piece hasn't been shared. And I think that's very important, that as we're redefining femininity and discovering truly what it is, not by other people's definitions, but like for you, you had to reorient because, like you said, you were conditioned to be brought up where the external was really important, and then you were confronted with it in your corporate job. And then all of a sudden you realize, I can't win if I play this game. And you had to then discover new resources. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's powerful. The last question that we're going to look at, which is the one I want to spend most time on, is I've noticed that, especially right now, there's a lot of divisive conversations, sometimes very hateful conversations around the topic of masculinity and femininity and all of that. I don't really want to go there because there's already a million conversations happening around that. Why I brought you here is I feel like you have something important for the viewers to consider as we're co-creating, moving forward, hopefully in a more harmonious and dynamic way with the masculine and the feminine. So I'm curious what you would say about that.
Well, I would say that first mistake, as you are also a very good advocate for, is that we mistake the feminine for women, the masculine for men. So that's always, the confusion starts right there. So it's essences that we all have. And then I think that the second problem is that we think the feminine is one thing and the masculine is another thing. But there's so many versions of the feminine. So there's the distorted version of the feminine, and then there's the healthy version of the feminine. And I think, and there's also the distorted version of the masculine and the healthy. And I think what we all need to do now, and I think that's the big cultural shift, is that we're all upgrading those distorted versions into the healthy ones. And that's a big piece of work. And lots of discussions and debate and all, a lot of mess in the process. But I think that's the big cultural shift going on, that we're really becoming aware of. The feminine is just not, it's not the same thing. It's not one pool of the same thing. There's like so many versions of the feminine.
Yeah, I get it. So what you're suggesting possibly for us to consider is look at our own, where we need to up level our own masculine, feminine within ourselves. And as we're doing that work, offering up some things that seem to be working, that are inspiring us, and then also listening to what's going on for other people, really listening instead of trying to impose like, well, my version of what I figured out is the way, and actually creating more bridges. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, but I also think that the war of sexes need to end now, because we're in an era where the solutions, the division is the problem itself. The war between differences is the problem itself. Mm-hmm. We need to, with a very used word, we need to create synergies, we need to understand that the beauty of the complementarity and within ourselves and between groups. It's a time to unify rather than continuing the divisions, because we can't afford the divisions anymore. The world is, all the big problems can only be solved if we collaborate. So I think that's also a very important aspect of the new era, is that the masculine and the feminine need to cooperate. And I actually say that the future is feminine, because right now the feminine is the most suppressed energy. So we need to amp that up so we can get more balance between these two energies.
And so in this moment, just so that the viewers really can think about this, my understanding would be that, because you're suggesting that we all actually need to harness a little bit more of the feminine essence, which would be what exactly in your words? Because I know what it means for me, but what would you suggest the listeners really consider when we want them to bring out more of what's, feminine within them? What are the qualities?
Well, I think that it's quite simple. We need to move from head only, which is the very, that's the predominant quite yang-oriented paradigm. The rational mind is like the ruler of this world. And we need to move into heart, and also have the body and our sexuality. That's where I think you do like such important, vital work for the world, because you include sexuality, which is like, has been cut out for I don't know how many years. Yeah. But we need to put get our whole selves with us. And I think the feminine, that's what the feminine is. It's like the whole. It's not just the head. It's just not the parts, but the whole. And I think that's the new thing. And it seems so banal, but my goddess, here we are, and we're still dividing ourselves into parts and trying to rule the world from parts.
Yes. So we want to get
it's not going to work.
Exactly.
We want to get more home. Use all parts of ourselves: our spirit, our heart, our sexuality, our physical wisdom, our collective wisdom. It's not that complicated. It's just a very big paradigm shift. I think Yeah, and I think the big paradigm shift is also to, we used to put the external first and the head first and the rational mind first. And I think what's going on now is a big, huge opposite way around. The heart first, the spirit, the body, the connection to nature, the whole, the wholeness, the unity. So it's a very, very big, it's almost mind-blowing paradigm shift. Yes. It's like going from thinking the world is flat to understanding it's round.
Exactly. And what I'm hearing too is, I mean, you love men, you have a great partner, you have sons, you're definitely a woman who interacts a lot with the masculine in the form of men. You also interact with the masculine when you're in your female leadership school, because it's in all of us. And so what I'm getting is, you're not suggesting that we turn off the rational and we turn off our ability to make choices and to have boundaries. Rather, you're suggesting that the volume needs to be the same for the intuitive, instinctual, primal, sensual aspects, alongside with, we do need a rational mind. We do need to be able to set boundaries, but having one lead over the other is probably problematic. So I think what I'm hearing is, you're really encouraging us, what would the world look like if this was actually a synergy and not like feminine only or masculine only, but finally, like, what do they look like? It's like the two sides of your brain, right? The left and the right. What happens when they actually work well together and we trust that? I really love that. And I'm just curious if there's like any final thoughts that you want to share today before we go.
Well, I want to just encourage us all to dare. You talk about daring, right, Saida? Mm-hmm. Daring. To dare put the feminine foot forward first, because that is actually a scary move, in the sense that we're not used to that. We're not used to listening to the heart first or the body first. But actually, I think the masculine is here to serve the feminine, which is about, the feminine is about the life-giving and life-bearing principle. So the masculine gear is here to serve that. And I think that's the big shift we all need to make, so we can ask ourselves in our lives, what would that look like for me? Would it look like, instead of waking up and taking my iPhone, do I just take a moment of stillness first, or listen to my heart, or be grateful, or something else than just, starting with the mind? Do I prioritize my body more? Do I explore my sexuality more? Do I relate differently to the masculine outside of myself, because I can look at what it can add to me? What's the difference that's so exciting, that can be fruitful? So it's just a different approach, and I think it's high time. And I love your work for that, because you really, really put attention to this wholeness and teach people to be whole. And so I'm so grateful for women like you who are doing such work, Saida. It's just amazing. I learned so much from you.
Thank you so much for being here. You shared a lot of really beautiful, powerful thoughts that I know will help all of us move forward with more dynamic harmony with each other. And so I just want to thank you for being here. And for the viewers, just stay tuned, because I have a little invitation for you. You're invited to join this amazing conversation. Soon I'll be doing a training, Redefining Feminine Power, and I want you to be there. So click the link that comes with this video, join. Just for joining, I will be giving you a free downloadable gift, so definitely watch out for that. And if you can't make it at the time that the training is happening, don't worry. Because you've signed up, we'll make sure you get the replay, all right? So all you need to do is just click on the link, join the conversation, and let's redefine feminine power together.